Smart Chiropractor Show featured guest segment. Featured guest segment is one of my favorites because Jason and I have the opportunity to sit down and chat with cool people doing cool things in and around the chiropractic universe. One of these individuals is Dr. Grant Elliott. I knew him before the doctor. I knew him when he was a student, blowing up Instagram. Grant has had a very unique ride within chiropractic, and I think he's only 2 years out of school. One, he built an audience of tens of thousands, 50,000 plus on Instagram before he graduated. Yes, before he graduated chiropractic school. Now he is well over 250,000 followers on Instagram. We're going to talk about that during our interview today, but there's a secondary component of this, and that is Grant has actually practically, with a little exception here, never had a brick and mortar practice and doesn't intend to have one in the future. This is a new doc doing new things, showcasing how teaching and inviting consistently can dramatically increase the impact beyond just the circle of practice that you might be thinking of. He's a great example of thinking bigger, not just bigger, can I get 2 more miles around of a circle of radius around my practice, but can I have clients in Pakistan? Can I have clients in Israel? Can I have clients in India? The answer to all of that is yes, if you'd like to. Without further ado, let's see how Grant did it with a fantastic conversation Jason and I had with Dr. Grant Elliott. Hey, Smart Chiropractors, welcome to our featured guest interview today. I'm excited. We have Dr. Grant Elliott of the Rehab Fix. I've known Grant for quite a few years. He is doing some incredibly interesting things that you probably may not know exist in the chiropractic space. We're going to explore some of that and a little bit of Grant's story as well. Grant, thanks so much for taking some time and coming on and chatting with us.
Absolutely. When I like to do any other thing, thank you so much for having me here.
You are more than welcome. I'm going to kick it off with a question here, and that is, if anybody has seen you and your brand, you have a ton of people, 250,000 people following you on Instagram, and you leverage that right out of school into a digital practice. I'm going to peel it back to then. How'd you even think and conceptualize that?
Thinking back to, oh my gosh, what is this now? A couple of years now. Yeah, I was, or maybe more than that. I was halfway through chiropractic school, realized that content is king. I wanted to build a reputation, build a brand. So I started posting content, branded content, and building a brand halfway through chiropractic school, continued posting more and more and more, building a more solidified audience and more solidified authority stance on those topics I wanted to be an expert in. And before I even graduated, I had a business there waiting for me. And it has been very, very fruitful and very grateful that I started when I did.
You know, Grant, I look at you as an inspiration to the chiropractic profession, and I'll make some clarifying statements for those that like to make assumptions. Clearly, chiropractic is about adjusting people, but it's also about inspiring them. It's about connecting with them. It's about inspiring them to do the things they need to do to get well and stay well naturally. How chiropractors understand? I mean, there's I'll say most of the profession asking themselves, you had a business getting out of college? What were you selling, real estate or supplements? Or how in the world do you think about getting that many people that come on board? Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. After the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks when you posted videos and you didn't have 250,000 people following you, what kept you with it instead of going, this doesn't work? And B, what is it that you offer people on Instagram that you're able to charge any kind of money to generate not just a living, but a nice living?
Part of this comes down to mentality. I'm always a long game. I'm an invested individual. And I did a little bit of research before deciding if I wanted to really jump in the content game or not. Listened to multiple podcasts. Jeff was one of them, Kevin Christie, one of them, and multiple others. And I learned, hey, this is a long game investment. So I wasn't thinking 1 day ahead, 1 week ahead, or even 1 month ahead. I was thinking 5 years ahead. So I said, you know what? No matter what my traction is, I'm going to post as many times per week as I can, and I'm going to do it for 1 year straight. I'm going to observe where I'm at in 1 year, and I will observe my options at that point. Well, it only took me 1 year to break over 100,000 followers, and the business was created throughout the process. Now, what am I able to offer through Instagram? What? Chiropractor online? What? I talked to so many people and they're like, so you're going to teach me how to adjust myself online? No. Obviously, as chiropractors, we learn so much more than just manipulation. There's a lot of people who learn nutrition, functional medicine approaches. Of course, rehab, my particular realm, is a big part of that as well. There's so many different ways that we can instruct someone on how to live a healthy lifestyle, and not everyone has adequate resources in their area. So I started to have people reach out to me. Hey, I want to learn how to squat without pain, deadlift without pain, go on a run without pain, and here are my limitations. By simply going through a video assessment with them, similar to what we're doing right now, we'll take them through some movements. We can analyze movements in many different formats, find existing restrictions, advise them on things that they can implement themselves so that they don't have to rely on a provider, and they can truly take their health into their own hands, and they can begin to implement those action steps to living a pain-free life.
That's awesome, Grant. We think about it in terms of Smart Chiropractor. We say teach and invite consistently, and you are literally the ideal model of that. You got out there and taught people every single day, for an extended period of time. And once you had the offer, once you graduated from school, then you were able to invite people to kind of work with you and sort of enroll them, so to speak, to help them achieve whatever their goals are. When you think about sort of that balance between education and sales and marketing, and as you put out content, how do you frame that in your mind? And what are some of sort of the strategies that you use today as you're really scaling that online business?
Yeah, so there's definitely many aspects that I have learned through the fire throughout this process, right? The best way to learn business is to just jump into business and to learn it from experience. And no doubt I've learned an exceptional amount throughout this process. So throughout this, like you kind of said, the marketing aspect, first off, posting content consistently and showing how it's possible, specifically in this scenario, in the online space. You need to show people how it's possible. So one simple example, I realized I was getting a lot of questions. Hey, how is this possible? How do you do this with people? So I filmed a video that I post about every 3 months now, where I used my wife as an example. I showed exactly how I'd assess her in person, and then it would cut to a view of me doing it online as well. And it showed how that process was the exact same in person versus online, to demonstrate to the viewer, oh, okay, I see. You just talk about movement, you assess movement, and you implement strategies to change. So through showing that, and through showing many different client testimonials, of course, and showing further demonstrations of how people can, as long as they see a tutorial of some kind, of course, they have something to follow, they can begin doing these things on their own. And then just continue to scale that, as you suggested, having the right strategies in place to take people through the process, through the enrollment process, of course, and further reinforcing the goal, the mission of this, which is for people to become empowered, to learn for themselves, once again, to not rely on a provider, and to become their own provider, to become their own knowledge source, so that they can carry this with them indefinitely. Anyone can get a quick session of something done to them, but to learn information, that's something that carries with you for the rest of your life. And getting people to understand that value and learn that that is a sustainable solution, that really shows people an alternative solution that does work for many, many people.
That is awesome. I'm going to break this up into two questions. The first one is, when I can hear chiropractors say to themselves, well, do people really want to know all that stuff? Because, most people come to me and they just want to lay down on the table and have you do it. And I've been making exercise recommendations for years. They never follow them. Really, do people care? So that's number one. And number two is, I'd love to get granular into, what do you charge? What services do you exchange money for? Are you earning money for things you do online? Are you just teaching online, and that gives you enough of an audience that then gets them to your physical facility and you generate revenue there? How does that work? And I'm going to also slip in there the question of, do you have any of your programs that really generate for you monthly recurring revenue? And if you do, what does that feel like? What's the value and value and, I guess, benefit of having that monthly recurring revenue come in month after month after month?
So I'll try to remember each question in sequence.
There you go.
If I need you to. So the first one is obviously sort of a call to action, even like a sales question in regards to, do people want to know that? How do you get them to do that, right? Well, I have a very short answer, to be honest. The clients that come to me are people who are motivated to get better. And there are typically people who've been, on average, dealing with low back pain for 3 or more years, have spent on average 3,000 to 4,000 plus, and have tried multiple chiros, multiple PTs, massage therapists, whatever, and are looking at a dead end. So one side of it is just by the process of the way this works, people who come to me are typically motivated to get better. Also, I'm going to kind of chuckle as I say this one, if people pay enough, they're going to do it. Okay. So once
it's important for you to emphasize, because most of the profession has that backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Low fee, high volume. People are going to listen to what you say. You got to make it hurt a little bit, and people are going to do what you say. But of course, you have to have a proof of concept first. What I do with my clients is, before I even enroll them in my full program, my mission is to achieve results during the assessment live, before I even ask anything from them. There's a proof of concept. They know what they're going to get. They can see what the next 6 months is going to bring. They're in. They know it's beneficial. They know the investment will be worth it. Most of the time, as long as you, of course, phrase everything correctly, your price is going to be well taken. Your second question. First, after developing Rehab Fix, when I was here in Tampa, I was getting a lot of people messaging me to see me in person. I was generating in-person revenue through a local practice. So I had my online business, which I'm going to explain exactly what that entails, and then my local practice as well. So I was generating clients from that very fast, I might say. With the first week that I graduated, I had 12 patients that week. So it was very, very helpful for that. That should be a big bingo for a lot of people listening if they're not producing content already. Now, at this point in time, I am no longer practicing locally in any capacity. I am 100% online. What do I offer? I offer online rehab coaching for low back pain, disc herniation, or sciatica. So essentially what that looks like, to summarize it into 10 seconds, is structured weekly plans, multiple ways to track progress every week, detailed descriptions of the exercises I am prescribing, the rep ranges, the sets, how often to do them, and a whole collection of additional lifestyle knowledge, healthy living knowledge, and even motivational knowledge sprinkled throughout the process to change the way they're viewing their body, to change the way they're viewing their life, and to ultimately leave them in a more motivated and pain-free state, and how to maintain that, obviously. So that is the exchange. That is the service that I'm offering that has been quite abundant around the globe at this point. In regards to monthly revenue, well, in regards to that primary initial package, I do a 6-month course to get people moving well, feeling good. That there's a couple different price points that are set up. There's a pay in full option or a monthly option, but I think what you're referring to is indefinitely, right? The lifetime value of a customer is what you're referring to. Once someone has gone through my program and they're happy with the progress they made, they feel good and they want to keep feeling good, there are a few options for them to maintain access to me and to maintain having a schedule. Because let's face it, if someone has developed a habit of having a schedule on their phone every day that they can follow that makes them feel good, they like to maintain that. So there's a few different options that I provide, which essentially I'll call them maintenance subscriptions, where if someone just wants regularly scheduled exercises and mobility movements that they can continue that particular month, and it changes every week, it changes every day, they can have almost what's like a online gym membership. Gives them the exercises, they need no equipment, they can do it at home. They have equipment, even better. Higher up options, if they want to maintain high access to me, continue working on new goals, continue working on new areas, or just to have a lot of contact, there are additional options for them to maintain more access, and we can continue that indefinitely as well. So there are options for them to continue generating monthly recurring revenue.
Grant, you are awesome, and I know we got to get you out because you have a client, and I'll ask you right now, where is the client? Where is your new client from?
This new client is in New Zealand. This will be my 3rd client in New Zealand. And one quick thing, because we're talking about regions here, probably only about 40% of my clients are in the US. I have the privilege of working with people I just got off a call before this, the reason I was late, client in Australia. I have multiple clients in Australia, Egypt, India, like I said, New Zealand, all over the UK, Scotland, Wales, many in England, Taiwan, one in Japan. It is an absolute pleasure to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds and to have a reach like this. And all of it is possible. It is very possible and very doable online.
I love it. Grant, there was so much to dive into. We're going to have to ask you back for a part 2 this year for sure. But keep up the fantastic work. You have built and grown something absolutely special, very unique. And I think this interview is going to open a lot of chiropractors' eyes to possibilities beyond what maybe they've thought of in the past. So for Jason and myself, Grant at therehabfix.com. Dr. Grant Elliott, thank you so much, man. All right. That was Dr. Grant Elliott, Rehab Fix at Rehab Fix, the Rehab Fix, explaining and showcasing how you can go about and think differently. You might be able to think bigger in some ways as a chiropractor, really building a community of individuals globally that are willing to pay you for your expertise that you can impact. And you also can think about this. This does not have to take away. If you love serving people within the 4 walls of your practice, awesome. That is fantastic. You don't need to stop doing any of that. A couple of take-home messages here in my mind were, number 1, content is king, as Grant said. Being able to generate 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 followers, those are fantastically high numbers. So don't get bummed out if you're stuck around 500 to 1,000. Everybody starts at 0. So building is all about consistency. It's all about teaching and inviting. And if you look at Grant's feed, you will see that for years. Consistently teaching and inviting has yielded the results. Second part about that, what's the importance of doing that? The importance of doing that is he curated this base, and he mentioned his first week out of chiropractic school, he had 12 new patients on the books, and it wasn't because he was walking around handing out business cards. Those people were literally waiting for him to graduate so that they could come in and see him. And now he's structured his practice, so to speak, his virtual practice, in a way that suits his goals, his ambitions, and his dreams. So for all of us that might not want to be 100% digital, number 1, that's an option. But number 2 is if you would love to keep an active hands-on practice, great. Consider the ability to diversify your revenue stream, because it can decrease your stress. It can add a new front door to your practice. It could give you the ability to impact people beyond the circle of your practice. And especially if you have building and growing followings of individuals who might not live near you, it gives you the opportunity to provide services to them and generate revenue for it. Jason, there's a million different directions we could go with what Grant had to say, but I'll kick it over to you for some thoughts.
Yeah, well, you touched on many of them. I'll just sort of reiterate that, you can play it a lot of different ways. And our goal is not for all of you to go, okay, I'm going to do it the way Grant's doing it. As you said, it is to open up your mind to possibilities. Listen, I love chiropractic. I love being a chiropractor. Jeff feels the same way. We're not trying to change the profession. However, I should say we're trying to improve it, but we understand what chiropractic is and what it should continue to be. But we also know the reality. I'll tell you from my own personal experience, some of the frustrations of being a technician in practice day in and day out after almost 10 years in practice, for me became monotonous. It became a routine, and I personally wanted more growth. Now, you may or may not feel that yourself. Many of you do. What's next for me? You hire associates, satellite clinics. You do a variety of different things. Hopefully you stay in the profession to grow the profession, not take the money out and then diversify your wealth in real estate or other things. I'm not saying it's bad. I am saying that there are limitations to the business model of a simple 4 walls, roof, single doctor, single practice type of practice. What if you get hurt? What if you need to move for whatever reason, family issues, etc.? What if you want to retire? What if for whatever reason you just can't physically practice anymore? You have to do something, take care of a loved one, whatever it may be. Life happens. And so there are just limitations for individual chiropractors in practice in terms of their growth and their exit strategy. And multiple physical locations is not an easy thing to do. We know quite a few chiropractors who do it, or maybe I should say attempt to do it. And it's not easy. It's difficult. Why bring this all up? These are ways so we can help you stretch your mind of what's possible. Most of you probably are aware of Dr. Josh Axe, a chiropractor who makes millions of dollars for his company as a chiropractor. Doing what? Teaching and inviting consistently. Now, you may or may not want to sell supplements. You may or may not like him. It doesn't matter. These are examples of ways in which chiropractors, like you, like me, can help more people, not just locally, can help more people in more ways by not just going spine, subluxation, adjustment better, goodbye. It helps more people because it expands your conversation beyond the traditional chiropractic advertisement. Are you in pain and live locally and want to feel better and don't want to take drugs? I'm not saying there's anything bad about it. I'm saying it's limited, that there's a lot more to what we offer, and there haven't been a lot of models or examples to follow of other ways to do it beyond the traditional, oftentimes single doctor in practice. And that, you ask any business person, is one of the least efficient ways to run a business for a lot of reasons. You're not usually open 7 days a week and so on. You've got capacity. You've got staff. There's just lots of different ways you can be considering your business model for yourself and your future to serve even more people than you are right now, while giving yourself the flexibility of moving, of not having to be in a physical practice day in and day out. There's lots of reasons to protect your financial future by being open to new ways of generating revenue. And I don't just mean multi-level marketing or other ways to supplement your revenue that aren't completely congruent with your prime core message and service. So just an example, we often refer to Roger Bannister. Nobody was running the 4-minute mile until he did. Once everybody saw that it was possible, lots of people could do it right after. He's one of our sort of go-to concepts here. We want you to see what's possible. You may choose to reproduce it and get $500,000. You may not. You may just go, wow, what if I shared my message with my audience here locally? Maybe you offer some sort of online training on the days you're not in your practice. Maybe you're in somebody else's practice and you're not working 7 days a week. You're on 3 days, off 4 days. This is a way to use those other 4 days to teach and invite consistently, build an audience, create awareness of who you are, what you do, and how people can benefit by working with you. And if you're in it, he said it, we say it all the time, for the long game. This isn't the quick fix. Advertising is the drug of marketing. If you want the holistic, and there's a time and place for drugs. Let's just be clear. They're not always bad. There's a time and place. But if you want the philosophy of communication that's congruent with the philosophy of chiropractic care and natural health care, then you'll recognize it is a lifestyle, it is a process, and consistency wins the game. Grant's been doing it, he continues to do it, and hopefully you learn something that will inspire you to do it too.
Grant is a great example of what you can achieve if you dream a little bit different, if you think a little bit different, and then you take the action steps. One thing I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, those who pay attention. We've learned that ourselves at the Smart Chiropractor the hard way, Jason and I personally. And I would say it's a lesson that everybody should learn in their practice as well. That does not mean that you don't have an empathetic connection. That does not mean that you don't care about those who can't afford your services. You can choose to do things for those who can't afford. But it does mean that you need to protect and value your time. And inevitably, those individuals who show up, pay on time, and pay maybe not a premium, but a nice level of service will get the best results, because those are the individuals most likely to take action. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.